We are Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are continuing our off-season college football coverage right now with Steve from collegefootballwinning.com. Steve is a professional handicapper who only does college football, and we have been doing numerous individual team previews with them all off-season long, taking a look at their futures odds to win the BCS and thinking about their possible prospects for against the spread record in the regular season. Steve, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you for having me back, Peter.
All right. The team we're going to talk about right now, Notre Dame, one of the most interesting teams in college football in general. I like to tend to, look to bet against them, especially when they're a big favorite. They're always a public back team, or at least that's their reputation. Last year, though, of course, they had a phenomenal year, 12-1, just 7-6 against the spread, though, but still over 500. Their futures odds right now to win the BCS championship are at Pinnacle are about 25-1 plus 25.39. That puts them tied with Florida and two other teams for 11th in the in all of college football. What do you think about? So, what's your take on Notre Dame for 2013?
Okay, first looking at the way we predict a team to do against the spread for the season, Notre Dame. You gave a great introduction about how they are definitely a publicly backed team. So when we use the standard metrics to predict a team, Notre Dame fits lockstep with the standard metrics that we use, at least they have over the past 10 years. So the first thing we look for is a variation in straight-up wins from the previous season. For the past 10 seasons, every time Notre Dame has less than or the same number as the straight-up wins they had the prior season, they had a losing against the spread year. Now, as everyone knows, they had 12 wins last year in 2012. So the only way they can possibly improve on their straight-up wins from last year is to go undefeated, including through their bowl game. They'd have to go 13-0. So we don't think that is likely with Notre Dame. Now, the next thing we look at is preseason ranking. Notre Dame, looking at them in the top 25 for the AP preseason poll, they've been ranked last 10 years 4 times in the top 25 preseason, and those were Notre Dame's 4 worst against the spread seasons in the last 10. In fact, they are 34.59% against the spread in years when they're ranked in the top 25 preseason AP poll. So this year, Notre Dame is guaranteed to be a top 25 team in the AP poll, preseason AP poll. Now, the last thing we look at generally when we're looking to predict a team's against the spread outcome before the year starts is we look for some sort of extreme against the spread season they had immediately prior to the one in question. For Notre Dame, they had 4 profitable against the spread years overall in the last 10. Each profitable year was followed by an unprofitable season every time. And the last profitable one, as you said, was 2012, where they were 7-6, 53.85 against the spread. Anything above 52.38% we consider profitable. So all of this adds up to Notre Dame should have a bad against the spread season. Now, here are some other trends to look at, especially when thinking about the public and Notre Dame. Over the past 10 years, public betting has been with them in all games 61% of the time, yet they've only won at a rate of 45.08% against the spread, and yet the public just keeps backing them. Over the past 10 seasons, Notre Dame has not had a single profitable against the spread year at home. Not one in 10 seasons. They are 34.92% against the spread at home. And the more the public bets on them at home, the more Notre Dame loses against the spread. So the past 10 seasons playing at home, Notre Dame is a miserable 27.59% against the spread as double-digit favorites. Also at home, they are an unbelievable 23.08% against the spread as double-digit home favorites when they're getting at least 59% of the public backing them. And they are an abysmal 1-8-1 against the spread when getting 70% or more of the public betting at home. If there's anything positive about Notre Dame against the spread, it's this. In the past 10 seasons, they're actually 58.62% against the spread as away underdogs. And surprisingly, they've won 6 out of their last 9 games as double-digit away favorites. So there are pockets of value for Notre Dame but those pockets are not when Notre Dame is at home.
All right. Well, all that squares with my sense of Notre Dame, and looking at them now, especially coming off of a year where they went to the BCS National Championship, you got to think that that this is just a year primed for them to be overvalued. But then again, all those numbers that you quoted. I mean, last year they were 7-6 against the spread, which is not terrible. And maybe they're going to trot out a similarly quality team and have kind of another kind of year, 1 or 2 games above 500 against the spread.
But look at the predictive criteria that we use.
Mm-hmm.
So we see variation in straight-up wins. They were way above their straight-up win total from 2011. Preseason ranking, they were not ranked in the preseason AP poll last year. So again, predictive of their have low expectations. And an extreme against the spread season immediately prior, they had a losing against the spread season in 2011. So they had all the elements lining up for something positive in 2012, whereas all those factors have changed entering 2013.
All right, so then it sounds to me like maybe Notre Dame at 25-1 to win the BCS championship is maybe way too short.
Well, now when it comes to, here's the interesting thing.
Okay.
When it comes to the 2014 BCS National Championship, you quoted the Pinnacle odds. At Bovada, Notre Dame is 40-1. And that's
wow.
the 17th shortest odds, 40-1 to win the national championship. And looking at our 60% rule, that's the article that we wrote on SBR earlier. It's a guide to predicting the next BCS champion. The first thing we look at, do they have an upperclassman quarterback? Much has been made in the offseason out of losing last year's redshirt freshman quarterback Everett Golson, and in his stead comes senior quarterback Tommy Rees. And a lot of people are down on Tommy Rees, but just some facts about this situation. Tommy Rees knows this offense better, and he is a better passer than Everett Golson. In the article that we wrote previewing Notre Dame on SBR, we have 3 charts. And what we did was we charted Brian Kelly's play calling the last 9 years, so where he was an FBS head coach, what he likes to do, and what Kelly wants to do. And you can see this progressively at Central Michigan, progressively at Cincinnati, and he's been a little bit frustrated at Notre Dame, believe it or not, at least his play-calling tendencies. He wants to throw the ball more than he runs the ball. Because of redshirt freshman Everett Golson's lack of familiarity with the offense and his tendency to rely on his running ability, Kelly's team ran the ball more and threw the ball less than any of his 8 other FBS head-coached teams. So what I'm telling you is Tommy Rees, being a pocket passer, he can better engineer the pass-dominated offense that Kelly prefers. Now, they were number 7 in total defense last year, number 2 in scoring defense. So people who are fretting about the offense, they were the number 54 total offense. They're ranked 80th in scoring offense. This is not a prolific offense. So they should not panic about the quarterback position. And needless to say, they meet the first criterion of our 60% rule. They have an upperclassman quarterback now. The second predictive criterion, top 20 scoring defense the year prior. We already said Notre Dame was number 2 in the country, number 2 only to Alabama in scoring defense. So they meet that predictive criterion. And believe it or not, here at collegefootballwinning.com, we actually have many reasons to believe that Notre Dame's defense will be at least as good, if not better, than the 2012 version that was pretty darn good as it was.
Really? As good or better?
As good or better. And let me give you some reasons for that. From comparing them to 2012, they return more starters than all of the top 10 scoring defenses except for Bowling Green. They are returning 3 of their top 4 tackles for loss leaders. They are returning 4 of their top 5 sack leaders. And even though Manti Te'o and his 7 interceptions are gone, everybody else who intercepted a pass in 2012 is back for 2013. So we think as good, if not better. And they were phenomenal last year. So defensively, we're really liking Notre Dame this year. The third criterion of that 60% rule is, will they be a preseason top 10? If you look at Pinnacle's odds, it doesn't look so good for them. You look at Pinnacle, it's maybe. You look at Bovada, not so good. But some of the other polls that have been out there, we're trying to predict the AP preseason poll. I would say about half of the time, Notre Dame is in the top 10. Now, a lot of those were put out before they lost Everett Golson. So we're going to give Notre Dame half a point for that criterion. They don't play in the SEC, obviously, so they're not going to get any points for that criterion. But the final one, Brian Kelly enters his 4th year. We're looking for head coaches who have been at that institution head coaching for 2 to 4 years. So they meet that one. In total, Notre Dame meets at least 3 of the 5 predictive criteria, maybe 3.5. And according to our 60% rule, at 40-1, which is where they are at Bovada, we think Notre Dame makes a good value 2014 BCS National Championship futures bet.
Okay, well, awesome insight, Steve, as always. Thanks so much.